Welcome to this channel once again. Today we are going to be talking about end value management, and I believe this is going to give you a very strong grasp on how you can monitor your cost. This is a continuation of a video that was done earlier, and I'm going to link that video to this so that you can as well get it. And that video is about the hidden costs. All right, so let me go ahead and do this. So if you're joining me now, go ahead and like this video, and let's hit the road straight up. What we have to offer today is quite interesting, and I think you wouldn't want to miss any bit of today's episode. So come with me while we go. All right, I have a couple of things I want to share with you here, and in the previous episode that we had, we talked about a couple of things, and I don't want to start repeating that. But at this one, I will have to take you through end value management. You've seen the title, so I'm going to explain that in terms of cost. I'm going to explain that in terms of performance and scheduling. So welcome once again. You know that in this video, all I expect from all of us, that if you come in here, if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and like the videos. Okay, apologies for coming in late. We're supposed to have been here by exact time, but never mind. So let's go straight to the point so that we can actually address a few things that we have to address today. All right, okay, who is with me? I can guess everyone is here. And I'm actually excited to have you here today as well. So as I said, end value management explained, cost, schedule, and performance. Right? So if I'm to ask you quickly, what do you understand by cost? What would you tell me? Cost is actually simply, let me give you what I have here. When we talk about cost, we imply that it relates with the value of something, right? Remember, we are talking about cost monitoring, and here we are also talking about end value. So imagine when we are talking about cost monitoring in end value, what do you understand costs to be? So let's see if somebody can give us that briefly before I drop what I have here for you. All right. Remember, I told you that today we are going to be dealing with a particular calculation. So tighten your seatbelt, because we have something to, we have something to deal on now. I don't know why I'm having some challenges with my internet connection. I'm not supposed to have that. Excuse me. Please exit all these devices, okay? Sorry, I think someone was tapping my internet, so it gave me a little bit of problem. But I believe that all of you are seeing and you are getting me clearly, right? So if you are doing that, let's get straight to costs. I said that cost, good evening everyone, cost is its total expenditure incurred to produce a good, to deliver a service, and complete a project as well. So in project management and in other disciplines like accounting, costs actually includes things that are being consumed, that is, resources that are consumed, and as well materials. Like in construction industry, materials are there, labor are there, equipment is there, and overhead expenditure are there. I'm very conscious of the fact that you are not, this is not a specialized course for costing. So I will not go into the detail and the nitty-gritty of that, but it's important for whoever that is with us here to know that these are the things that are involved in cost. So first, too, we will want to look at briefly what we call the types of cost in project management. We have direct cost, and we also have indirect cost. Have you heard about such before? Direct and indirect cost. And it's not just the two of them. In fact, there are about 6 of them that I would want to expand. So we have direct cost, we have indirect cost, we have the fixed cost, we have the variable costs, we have the sunk costs, and we have opportunity cost. So in end value management, cost is monitored using metrics like what we mentioned yesterday, cost performance index, and also things like cost variance is very essential when you are looking at things like this. And the estimates at completion, which is actually an actual cost. Get the point? So let's go straight to my calculation, or rather the calculation that we had pre-designed for today. All right. So I'm going to share. Will I be able to share this? Okay, let's see. I will give you the values, and we look at how we can relate. Let's see if it will be something that everyone can look at. All right. So this is what I'm giving you. Look at this scenario, because it's very important that we have this scenario. Okay? Because I have designed this scenario to help you go through this. We are looking at a commercial high-rise project here. All right? And for this commercial high-rise project, let's see. A commercial high-rise project has a total budget of what? 800 million. Okay? I don't think I'm comfortable with this. Let me just get this thing steady so that we can really follow through. Okay? Can everyone see what I'm showing here? Can everyone see? Please, if you are seeing, let me hear that you are. Just let me know that you are seeing what is here. Is it visible? Is it clear? Okay. I want to believe that. Yes, seen. Good. Good. So let's go there and deal with it. Okay. Remember what we are doing here. This is a scenario that we are creating, and you might find something like this as a challenge. Good. So a commercial project, just digest that stuff that you are seeing there. Digest it very well. Because I'll read it out and we hit the road. Digest it very well. Okay, good. So everyone is clear now. And one more thing. I believe it's clearer now. All right. So a commercial high-rise project has a total budget of 800 million and a scheduled duration of 12 months. So by the end of month 6, the project managers involved in that project conduct an end value management analysis to assess the cost schedule and cost schedule. Remember, I said we're going to be talking about cost schedule today, and the resource allocation, and as well as that were derived. Okay, we had the first planned value at 400, which is 50% of the total budget. The planned value at 50% of the total budget. And we have the end value at 350 million. Remember, the plan is 400 million against 800. That is 50% of that total budget. And the end value is 350 million. And that end value is actually the actual work completed, what their amount. Okay? And actual cost is actually 420 million, which is the amount they have spent so far. Then total planned labor hours, you see the labor hours, 50,000 hours. You see, it's beginning to get a bit complex here, and that's why I want us to pay attention. That's why I've taken pains to show this screen, because if I don't show this, you will not have a grip of what I'm talking about, and I don't want you to run into such challenge. Okay? So the actual cost, I said, the total planned hours is 50,000 hours, while the actual labor hours used is 55,000 hours. I'm already seeing something is not going on well. You get the point? I'm already seeing something will not go on well in this project. So step 1, this is step 1. We are starting, you've gotten your data. So this is step 1. Step 1 says the cost, for us to do the cost performance analysis, which is actually to find the cost performance index to establish whether this project is going in line with the budget. Because remember, we are monitoring the costs. Okay, so in order for us to determine that, we are going to do an analysis, and in step 1, the first thing is for us to know that we will find the cost variance, the difference between the cost, which is the end value, and the actual cost. So for you to know the variance, it is the end value and the actual cost. Remember that the end value is the actual work completed that worth a particular amount. Okay? While the actual cost is the amount spent so far, for the stage of the work. So now, our cost variance, CV, if you substitute, you'll find that you have EV being your end value at 350 million, and you subtract AC from that, which is 420 million. You can see that you're already on a deficit. The answer in your cost variance is actually a negative answer, and a negative cost variance indicates that you have a cost overrun. So in this case, we have a cost overrun of 70 million. Where are you going to get that money to replace? You see, that's a big problem. So, and this is why it is always good for projects to be monitored. This is why it's always good for projects to be monitored. Okay, so given this, you look for the what we call the cost performance index. So for you to find the cost performance index, it is actually your EV divided by your AC. EV divided by AC. The other one was EV minus AC, so for you to know the variance. But this time around, it is EV divided by AC. Is somebody getting me? If you are getting me, go ahead and drop a comment that you're getting what I'm telling you. If you do not, let's get back so that you have a clear understanding. But I want to believe that it is explicit and you can always come back here. It's straight arithmetic, but I want you to understand the factors that are involved. Okay, great. Somebody's getting me. Okay, who is not getting me? Where are you lost? So go ahead and drop a comment on where you're lost so that we can address that. If not, we know whether you get back to elementary mathematics. All right. So now we look at what is called the CPI, which is the cost performance index, to be, okay, great, 350 million divided by 420 million. You can see by the answer you have there that it is 0.83, and if you have 0.83 in percentage, it means that a CPI of 0.83 means that the CPI is not up to 1, and when your CPI is not up to 1, it means that the project is not doing well budget wise. So it means that you have over budgeted, and means the project has spent, for every 1 naira that is work, 1 naira worth of work, the project has spent 1 naira 20 kobo. You see, and it is not good. By the time you check the total thing, you see that those small bits of work, this thing, it skyrockets. So it is not on the good side. So let's look at the second part so that we can follow this through to the end. The second part of this is the schedule performance aspect. So let's look at the schedule performance. This is schedule performance. We are done with the cost, because if it's not doing well, we want to establish to know where the main problem is. We've seen that there's an issue with cost. So let's look at the schedule, and at the end of the day, as a cost manager or analyst, you should be able to advise on what needs to be done. So looking at the schedule variance here, schedule variance is EV over, PV. Okay? N value minus, rather not over, is N value minus planned value. If you substitute the values there, you find out that if you subtract 400 million from 350, you're having a negative schedule. That means the scheduling was not right as well. That's why we're having that issue. So you have a negative value of 50 million. The other one was 70 million. Are you seeing? And this one is 50 million. If you're coming into this video now, please go ahead and like this video. Thank you for doing that. So this shows that from the negative value we have, we can say clearly that the project is behind schedule. So it means that the work that is done is not commensurate to the amount that is spent. Imagine that. Okay, great. I'm happy that you can see the screen. Okay, good. So now let's look at what is called the Schedule Performance Index, the SPI. The same way we did for the cost variance to have the cost performance index. We'll do the same with the schedule variance to be able to have our schedule performance. You divide your end value and the planned value so that you can establish that for your schedule. So your SPI equals to 350 million divided by 450, and the answer here is 0.875. Okay, let me know if it is clear. Let me know if it is clear. Seems it's clearer, right? Can somebody tell me if it is clearer? All right, I take it that the silence means it is clear. Good. So an SPI of 0.875 as what we've got here means that the project is progressing at 87.5% of the planned rate, indicating delay. It means that this project, excuse me, it means that this project is not progressing well. Please make sure that you don't use internet apart from what you're doing. All right. The step 3 is for us to look at resource performance. So remember that we had planned hours for this project. Remember we had planned hours and it was given to us. If you want me to refresh your mind, I'll take you back to the beginning. But before then, okay, let's get back to the start so that you can get this. We had our planned hours. Total planned hours is given as 50,000 hours for the project. If you divide 50,000 by 8, what would you have? Let's look at that quickly. 50, 1, 2, 3 divided by 8 equals to divided by 360. So this is a very huge one, very huge one. If you look at this, it's a very massive project that might actually require people working day and night. If you work 8 hours, you may not be able to meet this in 17 years. Do you get the point? All right. Okay. So we have I've been able to show you the planned hours and the actual labor hours. Okay, so let's get to that and see what we have in terms of our resource. So in terms of labor productivity index, LPI, we have our planned labor hours divided by the actual labor hours, but you have to multiply that by the performance schedule performance index, for you to have your labor performance index. With that multiplication, which you have seen here, good evening. As you come into this video, good evening. Anytime you watch me, good evening, good day, good morning. And do well to subscribe and like if you have not done so. So the labor productivity index in this case is 0.795. 0.795. So it means that an LPI of 0.795 shows that the labor productivity is lower than the planned as in we planned that this work should go at a certain timing, but the productivity is lower, and it means that there are inefficiencies. And if you have inefficiencies, at the end of the day, what is going to be lost here is that you will lose time, you will lose money. You will lose time and you will lose money. So let's look at the fourth part, which is forecasting what the completion cost will be based on all that we are seeing. You know that once this thing happens, and these are the things that happens, and you hear that in a project there is variation and they are calling for variation. It could have been, these things could have been caused by several factors. And remember that we mentioned it earlier, it could have been caused by change in design. It could have been caused by scope creep. What's the third one? Somebody should drop it here. Okay. So we move down to the forecast for us to determine what the final cost will be. So for us to estimate, very good. That's right. So for us to estimate this and know what the cost of the project will be, because if you don't monitor it and you make requests for funds early, you've seen there are a lot of abandoned projects, and these are the things that they did not track to know where they creep, what made the project to suffer increase in cost. If you don't track it, it's going to be a very serious issue in the project. You just see the contractor ending up in jail, and the project will end like that, and he won't be able to defend himself because he's having incompetent teams. But when you have competent teams that are monitoring the project for you, they will advise you that this is what happened. This particular decision of changing your design, this particular decision of changing your scope, this particular alteration of bringing in importing materials rather than the architect. In fact, in a situation whereby the architect even recommends or specifies, excuse my register, where the architect specifies materials that will not be locally sourced, that is actually going to, if you don't monitor such things and understand how to plan for it, you'll find out that there will be delay in timing because they are waiting for material. But if you had monitored and know that this is the nature of importation, this is the cost that will be required, and we need to import it in bulk and bring everything, so you make their quotes in that direction. If not, the project will run into serious delays. Okay, for this case, EAC being estimate at completion, if current costs, if your inefficiencies continue, means that we are going to look at our total budget all over the cost performance index. We had the initial budget for the project to be 800 million, and we have done an analysis at a certain stage of the project and seeing the cost performance index, the way it is going, that it is 0.83, and you don't need to wait for the project to end, but you want to sit up and you say, if the project continues in the way it is going, if you do that, the EAC will be equal to the overall cost divided by your cost performance index. In this case, we'll have 963,855,422, whatever unit you want to use, whether it is NGN or USD. Okay, the project in this case has been forecasted to exceed the budget by approximately 163,855,422. I chose to use these values the way they are because this is actually what you see in real life. This is what you see. Okay, so in order for us to do what is called to complete performance index, which is TCPI, the cost efficiency needed to stay within the budget. See what is happening now. There is what is called cost efficiency needed to stay within the budget. What you will do is total budget minus end value all over total budget minus actual cost. In this case, 800 million minus 350 million and divided by 800 million by 420 million. I am taking time because this, you need to know this, okay? That's why I said in the previous lesson that it's all good to label that session with this one. So that's why we decided to take this. And I think this might even be one of the major things you need to know because this is the main monitoring we are talking about. So the value of your to complete performance index is 1.18. You see? That means that cost efficiency must improve significantly to 0.85 spent over 1 naira. It means that you need to improve it so that you can recover from overruns. Now, there are recommendations, okay? There are recommendations, and these recommendations will require you to, are we together? Good. These recommendations will require you to, look at the costs in question. The CPI, as mentioned, of 0.83 indicates overspending, right? Because that's what we found earlier. So for you to control the costs, you need to look at an aspect of your resource. So you look at optimizing your resource and maybe renegotiating the contract. In fact, it is very pertinent that the contract will be renegotiated. So that is a major consideration. All right? When you have the scenario that played out in our video, or rather in our calculation, you must come up with these recommendations. And your recommendation will be in 5 parts. Part 1, the cost aspect. First part, you need to optimize your resource. Means that you check, we had a problem with our resource. You need to check where you had a problem with the resource and optimize it. Then number 2 is that you may have to renegotiate the contract. You get the point? All right. I believe that we are all together. So still come with me. Come with me. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, the SPI. For SPI, let's see if I can recap again briefly for someone to pick it clearly. For SPI, SPI means Schedule Performance Index. And for you to do a Schedule Performance Index, you first of all need to understand the variance. And the variance is the difference between your EV, which is the end value, and the planned value. If your schedule variance, which is the SV, is negative, it shows that the project is behind schedule. For this particular scenario that we created, hypothetical scenario that we created for us to illustrate, what we had there was our end value was 350 million, while our planned value PV was 400 million. If you subtract 400 from 350, 350 by minus 400, if you subtract that, you find it is a negative value. And when it is a negative value for your SP, which is, for your SV, not SP here, because you need to first of all get your SV for you to have your okay, you need to first of all get your SV for you to be able to get your SPI. Your SV is your schedule variance, while your SPI is your schedule performance index. So in this case, we had a negative value of minus 50 million. So we now say, for us to have our SPI, we have to check the end value all over the planned value. So it's now a division. And if you check it out, for you to have your SPI, it is EV all over PV. And in this case, it's 350 million divided by 400 million. And the answer came up to 0.875. Is that clear? You can do well to go back and recap that particular portion of the video so that you have clarity. That is why it has been put on this platform, so that you will not be looking for someone else to tell you, when you can always come here and get the information explained as it were initially. Do you understand what I mean? The same applies to the to complete performance index. I will take the complete performance index again. All right, so come with me. So to complete performance index, let's look at you again for this gentleman. To complete performance index, yeah, are we there? If you are here, go ahead and let me know, because it is because of you that I'm here. Okay, great. So looking at to complete performance index as is, which is from here to complete performance index, we are looking at the cost efficiency needed to stay within budget. And I said it is the total budget minus your end value. While this on the you divide it by the total budget minus the actual cost. Okay? Good. So take notes. I'm going to leave this on the screen while I explain it so that you can get it. I'm sure it's because you were not seeing it, so it became difficult for you to understand. So to complete performance index, TCPI will require that you divide the total budget, you divide the outcome of, if you subtract the total budget minus if you subtract the end value from the total budget and you divide it by subtracting the actual cost from the total budget. In this case, the total budget is 800 million and the end value is 350. If you subtract that, what would you have? 450, right? So you'll be having 450 minus what? 380. You get 450 divided by 380 million will give you 1.18. Is that what your calculator gives you? Look at what my own gives me. This is what my calculator says. If you, first of all, we said that our end value, our budget is 800 million. And our end value is what? 350. So you minus 350 million. What do you have there? 450 million. So you keep 450 million in mind, and we do the other one. We subtract our planned value, our actual cost, which is 420. So 800 million minus 420 million is equals to 380. So you get that? That's what I was telling you. So if you have these two, the other one was, what did we have at the first one? So we'll divide this two, which is 450 divided by 380. 450 million divided by 380. What do you have there? 1.18. You know, the 4 is not up to a whole for us to convert. So look at that. That's what we had here. Okay? So is it understood now? That's why we had this. So TCPI of 1.18 means that cost efficiency must improve significantly by, 0.85 naira spent of each 1 naira. And you check out that. So in this case, there are recommendations, okay? And let's look at the recommendations. Number 1, cost concern. So the CPI of 0.83 here indicates overspending, which is what we had earlier. CPI, this is CPI. See what we had in our CPI, 0.83. It means that the project is over budgeted, or rather it's over the budget, not over budgeted. You have overrun the budget, which comes to what we talked about, budget overruns, because what we are trying to monitor here is to checkmate budget overruns. And let us go down here to see how practically we will, checkmate that. So in this recommendation, we have identified that the CPI of 0.83 shows overspending. You get the point? It means that cost control measures like resource optimization and renegotiating of contracts are actually very necessary. So it means that if you see that you will not be able to come out of this, it is good that you tell your client early, so that your client will start looking for money. If not, the project will be abandoned. And you also note that you keep your books right and ensure that whatever made that cost to go out of budget should not be your fault. It should actually be what was caused by the client, for you to go to the client to ask for renegotiation. But if it were your own fault, you may find a way of accommodating it, and that's where the problem is. But if you cannot, still ask for renegotiation so that the project will not be compromised. Number 2 is there are concerns bordering on schedule. So for an SPI of 0.85, it showed that the project was behind schedule. In this case, if you increase the efficiency of labor, it will help accelerate the work. You get the point? So if you were using a team that seemed to be inefficient, that's the good time to fire them and look for an efficient team that could charge you a little higher but give you higher productivity over time. Are you getting the message? If you have gotten this message, the next one, being the third, has to do with resources. In a situation where you have your LPI, which is the labor and productivity index, of 0.795, this suggests that your labor productivity is very poor. Are you getting me? You may look at training your workforce, or you deploy additional help. Are we making sense here? The fourth one is our performance concern. Look at the money involved. We have estimated cost at estimated actual cost becoming 9,638,55,422 million. It shows that the budget has been overrun. So if the trend continues the way it is going, you have to ask for additional costs. But there is a way out, which is called the recovery strategy. What do you do there? You look at to complete the one that you need to complete the project. You get the point? So to complete performance index, which is the TCPI of 1.18, means that your budget has to become tighter. It means that you have to tighten your budget. You need to look for avenues that you tighten the budget and control it so that you increase efficiency in cost to be able to move forward. All right. I think I have answered a few questions that you guys raised just here. And that's why it's always good to drop a comment and ask questions. Don't just be a listener, but ask questions. It could be applicable in any way that it concerns you. I'm glad that this is making some good progress. All right. So in this kind of project now, we can conclude in this aspect by saying that the analysis highlights what interconnected nature of cost, schedule, resource, and performance. So we actually need cost monitoring for such a project that has those, ups and downs. If we don't monitor it, can you imagine what would have happened in that project if there was no monitoring? That we're having those overruns, and you would not know. The project goes to a certain point, and at the end of the day, the next thing is that project has been abandoned, like Calabar Road, or it has been abandoned, like one road like that. I don't want to call their names, okay? But there are a lot of roads, lot of projects that have been, abandoned due to poor monitoring of the cost. And it's not just monitoring. When you monitor it, you have to also control it as well. All right? So did that make sense to you? Did that make some sense? If you, why would you do a project that doesn't have a bill? If somebody tells you to do a project and the project doesn't have a bill, that's a disaster. That is quackery. Don't get involved in such stuff, because you will sell your father's land or your grandfather's land that you did not even meet your grandfather to complete such projects. So someone asked a question and said, how can we apply these that have been said in a project that has no bill of quantity? That's a very significant question. And the point is that before, as a professional, you don't get involved in things that do not have matrices, that things that do not have ways of going. If it is not well done, don't do it. Sometimes you just turn away from a project. It's not for you. That's why you go through the training, and that's why a client would seek a professional. That's why we have professionals. And if something is done without making use of a professional who sees the project with an eagle's eye, then there will definitely be issues of high cost overruns and neglecting the project, even abandonment. All right. Okay. So let's look at a few other questions that could interest us here. Now, if someone asks, or there is this scenario that some people say, okay, so this our end value management, how does it differ from the traditional method? It differs. So that's what I can say first. It differs. So don't even imagine something or compromising this end value, because it's a game changer. Okay. So now, take note of this, that end value management actually is a project management performance measurement technique that integrates scope, schedule, and cost to assess project progress. And it does that objectively. So I take this again, that end value management is a project management or project performance measurement technique. Project performance measurement technique. Project monitoring technique. Project monitoring technique. Project performance measuring technique. In any one that you use, it's okay. That integrates scope, schedule, and cost to do what? To assess project progress objectively. So it's not just doing it, but it's doing it because it wants to add value. It's doing that because it wants to add value. All right, I want to pause here and ask each and every one of us how your day went. I want to believe that you had a very nice day, and it is a good time for you to grab a cup of coffee or some water, as I'm going to do so. I love to drink water, but I've spoken for about some minutes now and I've not drank water. Please drink some water so that you don't get dehydrated, okay? And always take a very good sleep and rest when you need to do so, because stress is not good for our health. As those custodians of the built environment, both investors, clients, architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, any sort of person that you are in the built industry, whatever work you do, remember to rest. And when you rest, take some holiday, travel, go around the world, see things around, okay? It will broaden your scope. Leverage on technology as much as possible because the world has moved. Let me even tell you something. Do you know that before now, before the rapid evolution of technology, it was institutions that used to drive our best technology. But now, have you realized that institutions are actually pursuing technology to try to do things at par with what is happening in the industry? Because the industry is adapting faster, and in a society whereby we want to experience rapid change as well, there should be a mandate that institutions also should adopt technology and apply it, because it's not just adoption but application of technology. all right. So great. All right, great. So now we look at this other aspect. And I mentioned about end value management, which I'm going to take this again for those who did not hear me well. So I said that end value management is a project management performance technique that integrates scope, schedule, and cost to assess project progress objectively. Okay? So now, how does it do this? You see, what all that we were trying to resolve had to do with quantitative data. It's not qualitative, it's not a hearsay or explain. It is what we see with our eyes. It is what we have documented and we can give record for. So what end value management does is that it provides quantitative data to evaluate whether a project is on track, whether a project is ahead or behind schedule, and whether it is under and over budget or it is over budgeted, whether the project is over budgeted or under budgeted. Okay, EVM, you cannot do away with it. It will help you in projects. It will help you as architects who are moving into project management. It will help in forecasting future performances and trends. And actually, at the end of the day, the whole game is for you to take corrective actions before the project goes out of course. In the previous episode, what was captured was we had captured the key components, which I will not go back to them again. But I don't think you have any issue in those calculations because those ones were quite straightforward. But I want us to know that there are things you need to note. Whenever you have key things to note, please take note. Whenever you have an SV that is positive, when I mean SV, I'm talking about your schedule variance. Okay, maybe I should define these things for you to know. Okay, there are 4 key components in EVM, 4 key one, and there are additional 3 that are indices. So in all, we have 7. So the first one is the planned value, which we have used it severally. Don't miss that out. And if you are to defend what a planned value is, it's actually the approved budgeted cost for work scheduled to be completed in a specific time. So we've been using it as often as possible. So it's good for you to know. You can go ahead and research and have a good grasp of that. And if you don't know what it means, you will not know how to apply it. So the end value actually is the approved budgeted costs for work actually completed within a specific time. Then the actual cost is the amount that is spent on works completed within a specific time. The amount spent. So the amount spent might not be the amount that was planned for, but it means that is what has been spent. So it becomes the actual cost. And we also have schedule variance. Schedule variance is a measure of project progress. And this it measures against the planned schedule. So schedule variance is your EV minus your PV. Okay? Remember, we have mentioned what our EV is, which is our end value, and our PV is the planned value. So SV, being our schedule variance, is actually to measure the progress, whether the progress is in line with the schedule or is going below our schedule. Now, the fifth one, which is the major one that we have talked about, we have applied all these things, but I'm just refreshing and recapping, is cost variance. Cost variance measures cost performance. Is the cost doing well or it's not doing well? So it is calculated by, subtracting your actual cost from your end value. So your CV equals to EV minus AC. Then, things you need to note, very important, is that if your CV is positive, the project is, under budget. And when it is under budget, it's good. But if your CV is negative, it means that the project is over budget. So in any case, you don't want to have your CV to be negative. You get? Then we also have the schedule performance index, which is the SPI, which we have talked about, and I am recapping for you to take note. It indicates schedule efficiency. So your SPI is actually found by having your end value minus your PV. So if you say SPI is equals to EV over PV, imagine that you have been given the schedule performance index. Take note of this part. Take note of this part. Imagine that you are given the schedule performance index to be a certain number, and you have been given the planned value, and you are asked to find the end value. Or rather, you've been given the SPI, you've been given the EV, and you've not been given the PV. It's simple. All you need to do is to find a change. You do a change of subject formula, and you get the answer. Okay. All right. So that's what I wanted to highlight, because it's very important you could find such in your application at some point. Okay. Now another one is if your SPI is greater than 1, it means that the project is progressing faster than planned. And if your SPI is less than 1, it means that the project is lagging. So imagine like a multiple choice kind of thing. Take note of this. Imagine a multiple choice kind of stuff, and you just see an SPI of -1 implies what? An SPI of less than 1 implies what? You begin to get confused. So take note that the one that is SPI greater than 1 means that the project is progressing faster than planned. And SPI of -1 or less than 1 is that the progress is lagging, or the project is lagging. Okay? All right. Number 7 of that, which is actually the last of the components of EVM. Excuse me. The last of the components of the EVM is the cost performance index, the CPI. So for CPI, what you look at is you look at CPI to be equal to EV all over AC. Remember, the one for SPI was EV all over PV. This one is EV all over AC. Don't mix it up. The one for cost is AC, while the one for schedule is PV. All right? All right, good. Good. I believe that someone is taking notes, and as much notes that you take, that's how you excel. Okay, good. So a CPI of greater than 1 shows that the project is cost efficient, and a CPI of less than 1 is that the project is over budget. What's the difference between the EVM and the traditional project management technique? I'm going to relate that with you now. Okay? I am going to relate that now, because it's important to note. How do I relate this? Excuse me. I want to get this visible. Okay. I'm going to share this screen with someone. Okay. Okay. Is it clear? We are looking at the differences between the EVM and the traditional project management technique. And I'm showing you this table because I want you to relate. We have here a feature, and the feature is focus. The features are the focus, measurement, forecasting, variance analysis, and decision making. If you are using end value management under focus, this is end value and this is traditional. So in terms of focus, end value management helps you to integrate cost, schedule, and scope performance. While in traditional project management, what you have is mostly schedule and cost tracking done separately. In traditional project management, what happens is that will be on site doing his schedule, and the quantity surveyors will come later from another team to come and be tracking the project, whether they have done it according to time before they release the next money for them. So that's how that one applies. And in terms of measurements, we have for end value, we have uses, as in measurement. In terms of measurement for end value, it uses objective performance indices like EV, that is end value, CPI, SPI, all those indices that we've talked about. But this other one relies only on cost reports and milestone tracking. Can be so boring. You understand? And anybody can just wake up and say something. But in this other one, end value is quite interesting. Okay, when it comes to forecasting, end value predicts future project management trends and outcomes, while the traditional project management reacts to past performance without predictive analysis. Okay? With regards to variance analysis, we have end value to identify costs and schedule variances very early, while in traditional project management, it may only detect variances after significant deviation. So it is only when there is a serious matter on ground to settle, then you now see the team comes in and starts doing their, reports and their evaluations. Then in terms of decision making, end value use data. It can tell you that at social point, this is what happened. Mr. Client, the day you brought this change and enforced that we should do it, even when we say we are not going to do it, and you say we should go ahead and do it, it was that day that we had to increase manpower, and that is what has brought. In fact, it was that day that caused delay, that the designers had to go back to the drawing board to make a change in the design. So that's data. And it enables what? Proactive corrections. Because if you are using end value, once that is happening, you will know that something is wrong. Once that happens, you know that something is wrong, and you'll be able to track it. But in the traditional project management, it's often reactive based on subjective assessment. All right. So, in summary, what do you think about end value, and what do you think about end value and traditional project management technique? Which one would you go for? Let me have it on your comments. If you think, somebody dropped a comment here and said, how is EVAC calculated, obtained from a project? But we have discussed that now. Are you just coming in? I gave you an insight that if you have been given your SPI which is your schedule, all you need is, if you have an SPI, you should know that your EV over PV is equals to SPI. So change of subject formula is what you want to do. So for EV, if you are to calculate for EV, what would it be? Your EV will imply you multiply your SPI by your PV. EV is SPI times PV. Is that understood? While AC equals to AC. Okay, let's look at this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Somebody should quickly do a change of subject formula here. Quickly. If you have SPI over 1 equals to EV over PV, find EV. Quick one, fastest finger. Let's see who is going to get it faster. Let's do that. Get your pen and paper. Let's see who is the A mathematician here. Change of subject formula. SPI over 1 equals to EV over PV. Make EV the subject of the formula. I'm waiting. Great. EV equals to PV times SPI. Simple. Are you getting the message? So that's the same thing. And if you want to revert it back, you'll find out that SPI is still EV over PV. So you see what I'm trying to say? So that's how it is. If you just know, if you have a formula that carries all of them, you can easily find the other one, and there is no way one would give you all these things without you getting it the way it should be. All right? Okay, great. So let's move to the next item on the table. The next item . Okay, this would be, what's the significance? If I'm asking you a question, what's the significance of planned value in end value management? I will share it with you again because I realize that if I share it, you have a good grasp, right? And realize that when I share the screen, the grasp is better, isn't it? So let's share and deal with this together. Okay, is it clear? Would you want it to be clearer? I think it's clear here. So let's look at this. So when your planned value, also known as the budgeted cost of work, BCW, which represents the authorized budget or approved budget, as we mentioned earlier, assigned to schedule work at a specific point in time, it serves as a baseline for what? Evaluating project performance by comparing planned progress and actual progress. So the role of planned progress the role of planned value in project management. Number one, it provides baseline for performance measurement. Number two, it helps in schedule performance tracking. Number 3, it helps in budget allocation as well as cost control. And number 4, it helps in forecasting and risk management. Then number 5, as the final one, is stakeholder communication and decision. So this still borders on what we have discussed. All right, still borders, but it's just to refresh your memory. Okay, so one more thing, and I think we will be done for today. Okay, there's a quick question here, and I know that if that is being given to you at any time, you will be able to address it, but I will just read it out. That if you have the following data, if somebody gives you your PV and gives you your EV and gives you your AC and gives you and tells you to calculate the CPI and SPI, I believe it will be easier for you to do that, right? I'm asking. If you are being given all those things, it will be easier for you to do that. So let me take it that it's clear. Listen, perfect. Okay. All right. So in a situation, I have a case here that I want us to look at. So when you have a situation where your CPI is low, what measures should be used in controlling that cost? And I'm going to outline those measures. Number 1 is estimation. Somebody asked earlier if you can enter into a project or be part of a project that does not have what? An estimate. And we said, no, that is not good practice. So in this situation, you actually need, for any project, you need an accurate estimation and also budgeting. Okay, so a project that has such from the beginning will allow you to prevent financial surprises. And what is involved in that estimation, I will outline let's look at 4 of them. Have you heard of something called rule of thumb estimates? Somebody has a project, and the first thing he does, he calls a QS. What's your rule of thumb per square meter for concrete works? And the QS will ask him, in which location? You're getting the point? So that factor comes in. So it gives you a preliminary, and that preliminary estimate is actually based on conceptual design, because you will not be able to do a detailed estimate when the design is still at the conceptual stage. What this kind of estimate does is that it will help the design team to have an idea of cost quite early, so that if the clients, by the time they come up with this, the client can quickly say, oh no, I don't know how to get this kind of, I don't have this kind of funds. Okay. And the second one is detailed estimate. And for detailed estimates, you have to develop it using bill of quantities. It involves you doing something called, and that is not for the architects, mind you, but it is a good knowledge for the architects to have. The QSs will need it, and they take it from material takeoffs and labor calculations. So you're getting the point? If you are coming into this video at this time and you have not hit the like button, go ahead and do so. If you have not subscribed at any time, please do well to subscribe as well. Okay, perfect. Another one is allowances. You know, there's something called allowing for contingencies. When you allow for contingencies, it means that the budget is allowing, you are budgeting for unforeseen circumstances. And typically, in some cases, you find there are such allowance for contingencies could be from 5% to 15%, depending on depending on the nature of the project. But it is always such percentage of the total cost. That's what contingencies is done. Then also you need to, what is also very important to consider is the issue of inflation and market fluctuation. So you need to factor the possibility that there might be changes in prices within a period where you are making such, especially when it comes to materials and labor costs. So now, how can accurate cost estimation and budgeting be administered in projects? It's not far-fetched from what I have been saying, and that borders deeply on use of technology. We have so much. I've been clamoring, talking about building information modeling for different things. Now, for costs and estimation, building information modeling is very paramount. You know, it will help you in doing accurate, or rather, estimating accurately. And it will also help you integrate real-time material and labor data right in the project. Software like Revit does it, ArchiCAD does it, and I can actually guide you through using Graphisoft to do that. We have BIM 360. We have a lot of them that can help you do that. Then another way of controlling your costs, another measure of controlling costs in your design and construction stages is what is termed as value engineering. Number one I mentioned was accurate cost estimation and maybe budgeting, because we've talked about this. But if you give me cost estimation, I'm fine. If you give me budgeting, I'm fine. Number two is value engineering. So value engineering requires you to actually, let me say, value engineering is, by definition, is a systematic process that helps you achieve the required functions at a lower cost without compromising quality. And this value engineering process actually involves doing a functional analysis. What do we call functional analysis? Architects, you can reason very better here. You identify what is very essential, the essential functions of the facility or the project, or the essential design elements. You keep those ones. The ones that are not too essential, you leave them, because those other ones that are not too essential will not be visible. You get? And if it's just like somebody using concrete to form a massive column in front, where such could have been a pseudo material, where you use a lightweight material that is, weather resistant or weather friendly, without using the mass of concrete pouring into that space. So you see, I see some people when they do designs, and that's why we're very critical about these things. When you are doing design, you just drop columns sporadically without understudying the size. I've seen some people in a situation of trying to maintain value engineering, they start to use block work to form massive embellishments in front of their facade. So that's a way of trying to cut cost, and that is function analysis. If that thing is not load bearing, why do you use concrete? Another one is applying the technique called using alternative materials and methods. So when you're doing value engineering, you will look at good evening everyone once again. At this time is a very good time for you to take some water. Yeah, I needed to take the water because I was getting a bit dehydrated. All right, so I said material and methods. You check alternative material and method. You know what that means? You can choose materials that are more cost effective when you are specifying as a professional that specifies. Then you look at the long-term cost of the building. Choose materials and design that will give long-term cost benefits, because maintenance is another factor in building costs. We have just been talking about design and construction. We've not even looked at operations, but that's another aspect for another day. Okay. So the third one is contract management. So I will just quickly give you the headings and regular cost monitoring. So I'm sure you can look this up. Okay. At this time, I want to say that I'm very glad for the few of us who have been here up to this time, and this is not the end of it. So I will give us some time to digest what we have gathered here, and we will come back again. So do you have any question for me? And if you do not have a question for me, thank you so much. So I think I will have to let everyone to have their time now, okay? So that you can do some other things this evening. Okay, somebody asked a question, and let me read this question out. If the architect is the project manager, is it the architect's role to evaluate end value of the project, or the quantity surveyor, given that there was a planned budget? Anything about this is actually the role of the quantity surveyor. But you see, as a project manager, you are the eye, so you actually will do it. The quantity surveyor is doing it as a consultant. But remember that for end value management, what we are looking at, this is the project manager. So if the architect is the project manager, he has to work closely with the quantity surveyor in that team, because it's a teamwork. You get a quantity surveyor who is, and remember, it depends on the kind of project. If you are the project manager, the project manager needs to know how to do it. Okay? If the project is a very technical one that will require a lot of up and down calculation, the best person to be the project manager is the quantity surveyor. But if it is that, as I said earlier, that requires a lot of design and alteration kind of stuff, then it is the architect, and it is the role of that project manager to know how to do this. So it's not on, and that's why you are being exposed to this. Okay? Great. Have I answered your question? Have I answered your question? Okay, at this time, I think we have to sign out. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you soon, and you'll be notified. Take care and have a good day.